I love Saturday morning. Oh my God.
Surprise, surprise, surprise. It's like, how the heck are you, Mr.
I
Sylvester?
am I am I'm great. I'm choosing to be great. I adjusted my schedule so I could have a day off in my week. How about
Mm,
that? So I could have Sundays off. I private chef. Part of my one of the universes I live in is I'm a private chef. And so I cook all day, like an 11-hour shift twice a week. And so I just moved it off of Sunday.
oh, nice.
And so I could have Sundays off. And it's fantastic. So I haven't had that for a couple of years. So I'm looking forward to that. And we need time to we around our house we call it white space,
Hmm.
which means an unplanned calendar event.
Yes. I, eh, having one of my most cherished things when I look at my calendar is to have a couple of days a week that I
Yeah,
look at it and it's completely blank.
yeah,
And I don't know, this is an interesting thing because, both of us are of age that we could retire. Most people do, or many people do, and they have nothing on their calendar all day long.
right.
I don't know that I would want that 7 days a week. I'm sure I would fill it up with something.
It's interesting. All the retired people I know in my life are busier than when they were working.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't think you don't get that magical time off. But when, I mean, actually, literally scheduling time off means you will take time off,
Yes.
right? Well, he's Dewey Freeman. I'm Mark Sylvester. We are the Elder Council. And
Good morning,
to,
everybody.
today, my friend, I want to talk about speaking up.
Mm, please say, I could do a pun here. Please speak up about that.
Well, as you know, I'm a communication strategist, so words matter, and whether it's telling stories or building your communications to go pitch and raise money or trying to get a job or whatever it is, it gets down to communication. And I'm pretty sure we don't formally spend time learning how to communicate. So that's one piece of it. But I think there's another piece that I thought was that I want to dig into today, which is men. This what do they call it? He's the strong silent type, right? They keep to themselves. They don't say much. They're the quiet guy. They're the all of that. And I want to kind of challenge that. I think part of what I enjoy about the nation is challenging these stereotypes
Hmm.
and looking at them and picking, okay, well, what's the good part of the strong silent type? Like, why is that attractive? And then what's the bad? And when I say bad, I mean, I mean bad, but it's not, it doesn't help you. So
Hmm.
does that's kind of where my head is at, which is um and I think it might be confidence. Like I don't know if people are gonna like what I say. There could be a lot of different reasons why we don't speak up,
Hmm.
but I want to call the show Speaking Up.
Cool. Well, out of curiosity, what made you think about this topic? Because this is a biggie.
Um, I, honestly, I sit here, I close my eyes, I get really quiet, and I wait for the universe to throw a few words into my head.
Speak up.
And the first one was bias.
Mm,
And I thought that's a big one. I'd like to be a little more prepared to talk about that. And then I thought of communication because I spend all my time helping people be better communicators. You know,
hmm.
the what we're going to say, why we're going to say it, when we're going to say it, how we're going to say it, all of that kind of stuff. And I thought, I don't think we've talked about that. But then it hit me that a lot of times men are quiet. And I thought, you know what? That's our topic. That's how I went from A to C.
Got it. Well, let me throw a piece in here. And I really like what you're saying about the communication piece. I'm going to make a statement. Maybe we can mess with this a little bit in terms of what you brought up. There is never a time when we are not communicating.
Okay.
If I'm quiet, that's a statement.
Yeah, it is.
If I walk through the house and see Kimberly and look at her, and then I go back out the door, but I don't say any words, I'm still communicating something. When I am sitting in a certain way, when I'm have a certain energy, I'm still communicating something. So one of the things that I'll toss out here is if I don't speak up, I'm still communicating something. What's interesting about that is if I don't speak up, I leave the meaning of that of whatever I'm communicating. Oftentimes I leave the meaning of that communication up to somebody else instead of
Correct.
me.
Right. I think if you are intentionally being quiet, to your point, I'm intentionally being quiet. It would be really great if you could take a selfie at that moment
Hmm.
and look at yourself and think, what am I communicating right now?
Yes. What am
That
I?
would be a higher order intentionality because we know that we could challenge the numbers, but somewhere around 70% of communication is nonverbal.
Yeah. Some people say a little higher and some people maybe a little
Yeah.
lower, but
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So part of the reason I bring that up is because I've had a number of incidences this week where people go, well, I didn't, and this is between couples, or they go, well, I didn't say anything. And it's like, well, actually, yes, you did. I mean, for instance, not that I would ever do this, but let's say for the next 10 minutes, I refuse to speak. That's saying a lot.
You, you, you had a pretty loaded word in there. Refuse.
Yeah,
That's different than being quiet,
that is true.
right? I can, you're familiar with the term resting bitch face,
Yes.
right? Look at how what you look like when you're being quiet. Kimberly has a fantastic story of her first time on the improv stage we invited a friend of ours, and he sat in the front row, a dear friend. He'd not been to an improv show. He had done stand-up back in the day when he was younger.
Mm.
And so she was very excited, and she was out there, and she kept looking through the curtain to see how he was doing. And he was like this the whole time. And she's like, "Oh my God, I was terrible. I was awful. I was terrible." Afterwards, she said, God, I'm sorry I invited you. I'm sorry you had such a bad time. Just, what are you talking about? I had a blast. That was fantastic. You were great. Yeah, but you were like this. Whoa, was I? He's a defense attorney. His job,
Oh,
right?
that's
So
hilarious.
he's practiced at that stoic
Uh-huh.
look. I'm not going to have any emotion on my face. So it's just, people are looking at you, and to your point, they will interpret, they'll read into what you're not saying, and
Mhm.
chances are they're wrong.
Well, even if they're right, and you're correct, there's probably a 70% chance that somebody is not accurate if they're just quote reading something. And I'd actually like to speak to that in a minute. But if we speak up, then we're the ones who are in charge of the communication. We're the ones that are in charge of the message.
Yep.
And that also provides somebody with the ability to respond. Like one of the things that you've said about improv, and I when I have seen you do improv with somebody, the like everything is a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a response. And so when we speak up, and tell me if I'm not correct about that, please. When we speak up, we give somebody something specific to respond to
Mm-hmm.
versus letting it sort of sit there and let people figure out what they're going to respond to.
Mm-hmm. I wrote about this last month in a piece called "Every Word is a Gift."
Oh, talk about that a little bit, please.
Well, if you think of a conversation as an exchange of gifts to one another, you've
Hmm.
probably not done that before. But for this exercise,
No, I
imagine,
have thought about that before. I love that.
okay, I'm giving you a gift. I'm either responding to you. One of the first things we do as improv is we just look at each other. We
Hmm.
make eye contact. How you doing? I'm checking in with you. All that happens really fast. And I'm going to respond. I'm going to react to what I see. I may not have anything. I have no preconception. I just look and go, "God, he looks super happy."
Hmm.
So now I just gave you a gift. I endowed you. You're so happy. So I've endowed you. So now you have a gift of happiness. I'm the happy guy. And now you're going to react to that and agree, yeah, I'm the happy guy. And you're going to add to that, give me a little gift. Oh my God, I just got off the horse. You won't believe what I saw. It was the most amazing. We're having a super bloom because of all the rain, and the flowers are staggeringly beautiful. So you gave me a gift back
Back.
of detailed description of something. I had a great ride. Well, what am I going to do with that? I mean, I'll figure something out. As opposed to, I saw these beautiful flowers. The hills were alive, right? So that was a gift back to me that I can now react to and say, oh, man, I love the fact that you live in the mountains and you get to see that every day.
Right.
Right. So it's a gift back and forth where I'm accepting that reality and coming back. Now, I have to tell you, in a relationship, which is ostensibly what we're talking about, is relationship and creating openings, which is what that gift is, an opportunity to open up.
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect,
Absolutely.
right? That opening. Oh, yes. Or I could have said, "Wow, you look really tired." And the way I said that, right, there was some
Mhm.
nonverbal associated back with that, and now we're going to have that conversation.
Yep. So when you give me that gift, so let's go back to your example of, yeah, I rode and I mean, things are just magnificent. They're beautiful. The flowers are coming out. When that happens, that statement comes in and runs through all of my filters of life, of 73 years of life. I might see, I mean, literally, the picture I had was the last time I rode, which is a few days ago. Moon and I crossed this creek and came up and out, and flowers are just coming out, and the smell of
Mm,
something, and I don't know what it was,
mm,
but the smell of of a plant blooming was like sort of sweet and pungent at the same time, and it was
mm,
sort of
mm.
overwhelming. But when you give me that information, what I do is run that through my filters, and I come up with something, which was what I just explained. That's exactly what happened when you said that. Now, if I were to say, yeah, and this one smell that I came out of the river and smelled was like overwhelming. Like when I breathed it in, it was like I could taste it. It smelled so strong. And my body settled.
And I have a magic bottle that I'm going to give you, and to keep it close, because the next time you're on a ride, I want you to capture some of that smell and bring it back to me.
I would love to give you that gift.
Yeah.
The bottle's beautiful. Not only is the smell beautiful, but this bottle that you just gave me is a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
How did you make this?
It's Venetian.
Ah, so so this is actually really fun.
You can see why it's my favorite hobby.
Yeah. Well, but the point of all of this is I would never have thought about the bottle, nor that it would be Venetian. That's something that went through your filters.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't know that unless you speak up. I won't know because if you don't speak up, then everything is still going through my filters. Somebody can say just say anything. And someone might say something about being outside, and someone will go, "Well, I had a horrible experience outside, so I don't even want to talk about that."
Which
That's their
is
filters.
which is we have to beat that out of our students, because that's denial. You're denying yourself that, like, live in a world where someone else can have pleasure, number one,
Yes.
instead of, like, we call that no but. There's yes and no but. No, but last time I was out, it was shitty. So now it's all about me. It's not about you. I'm reacting negatively. I'm asking. I mean, it's just it kills improv, but I think it also kills, you close the door. Instead of creating an opening, you're closing.
It kills the flow of communication.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And even with that, if something happens where the flow of communication gets killed, that's communication. That's what I really want people to get is it's essentially saying, and people would run this through their filters, and it could be many different things. It might be someone will say, well, finally, you shut up. That's one piece. Another is like, oh, you're punishing me by not speaking. Um, when we don't speak up, we also build up. And most of the time, what we build up is resentment when we don't speak up.
Right.
So, just in your experience, what's that like?
I was the guy who wouldn't deal with my feelings about conflict, in a conflict, in my relationship, before Kimberly. It's just, fuck off. I would just go into my shell. I'm astrologically a Cancer, so that was always a great image for me, as a hard, crusty outside, go in till the danger is gone and then come back out. But the soft jelly inside, totally me. And very early in our relationship with Kimberly and I, she was not, there was no way that was going to fly. Like, no, I'll sit here as long as it takes. And I'm not going away. And not in a mean way at all. It's like, it was, thank God. And I'm super thankful, because that was a huge inflection point for me personally, but also in the relationship, to say, someone's not going to let you do that. You need to deal with, and I would say, well, I'm upset, or I'm hurt, or I'm scared, or I'm angry, or whatever it was that I didn't want to deal with. Someone was holding me to account.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like, you don't get to be the little 8-year-old and go sulk and be in your room. You need to face up and man up. I was 50, so you would think I would have figured that out, but I hadn't. That's the point, everybody. That's
Mm-hmm.
the point, right? And that's where you have some catalyst, where it means a immovable horse, you have a catalyst, and you had to change. And I did. Thank God.
Just as an aside, for those people listening to this that don't know Kimberly, I know Kimberly relatively well, and I'm just having this great picture in my mind of the two of you and of Kimberly.
Yeah. I remember exactly when we were sitting on the side of the bed. I totally remember it. Yeah. So that's where, if I could say anything, is it is very difficult to face those fears, or face the challenges, or face whatever that is. And it's easier to be quiet. And to your point, you are communicating. And if someone's not, they're like, no, I'm not going to let you do that. So that's the kind of not talking, right? It's like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were saying the resentment, I saw myself, the picture I had, you had a picture of yourself with the flowers picture. I was here, and I was just building little bricks all the way up, so I could be covered around in bricks and no one could get to me. Right? Like,
Yeah.
you can't get through that. And yet the what we really want is, we don't want to be isolated. We don't want to be walled off. Really, we want to be connected. We want to be loved, and we want to be held, and we want to be cherished, and we want to have relationship. That's what we want. I mean, that's your everything you teach is about that. Everything I talk about is what are the words we use to get to that, and what I've learned from you, the somatic nature, what energetically, what am I doing to get that? And because here's another good one for you. Well, pause. We do improv without words.
Mm,
We do scenes where we're not allowed to talk, to impress upon us that we can communicate as humans without words, and we're not allowed to mime either. We just have to exist in a scene naturally, and we can't talk, to prove to us you don't need words, and which is to your point.
so when you were quote walling off, and this question is not just specifically for you, it's for everyone listening. What was your perception, and to all the listeners, what is your perception of what you were trying to protect when you wall off or you don't speak up? Do you have a sense then? I know you well enough now. I know that you don't do that now.
Yeah.
But all of us will protect sometimes. But I know you really well, and it's like you don't do that. But at that point when you were doing that, do you have a sense of what you were trying to protect?
um Probably the myth that I didn't need to face my true self.
Mm, okay. Was there any part of trying to protect your feelings, or any part of trying to protect your status or stature, or any part of trying to protect your masculinity? Any part?
Those three don't land. However, um it's a while ago now, and I'm thinking it was I I just don't want to I don't want to deal with the reality of what's happening right now.
Mm,
Just I don't I it goes to a lifetime of conflict avoidance, because
mhm,
I grew up in a dysfunction. We've talked about this. We got a pretty dysfunctional family, and there was a ton of conflict. And so I don't like, I'm not a fan of conflict. And
mm.
I've gotten better, because just running away from it, like conflict avoidance, doesn't make the conflict go away. It just removes you
Exactly.
somehow.
Actually creates more
Yeah, exact. I learned that took took a while, but
the hard way.
I think that's where that was, right? Was I think it was just around avoiding conflict, because I just didn't want to deal with that, because I just had a bunch of attachment issues, Mr. Freeman, attached to that,
Hmm.
in my early childhood. And once I kind of, I think the first 5 years of our relationship, 50 to 55, was dealing with all that shit, because it was like, this is my last relationship. I'm gonna put in the work. It's worth the work. If I need to get some help, if we need to get some help to figure out that stuff,
Hmm.
it's worth it to do that. And you just kind of faced all of the stuff. And the story I was telling myself was like, I don't want to deal with it. It's too much. It's too, all that. None of that story wasn't true, but I didn't know that. But once I learned all that, then it's, you know, life's great.
So one of the things that you clearly did was shift your perspective of that and how you were going to do that. Many times when we don't speak up, and this is what I hear from people, and this is what people think, is is a reason sometimes. But people will say, well, I don't speak up because wasn't allowed to speak up in my family. And um, I don't speak up because I got yelled at as a kid, or I don't speak up because of blank, blank, blank. And that may be a reason, and it's no excuse.
Mm.
And I'm really I want people to really hear that is that, and I see this all the time with clients, and let me give a big example. Like people will come up, obviously everyone here knows that I work with horses and with people and horses. And people say, well, when I was 6, I had a pony. I was feeding a pony a carrot and they bit my finger. So I'm afraid of horses. And it's like, and this person maybe is 6'3" and 230 pounds and et cetera, et cetera. And that description is just so everyone knows that's not of anyone in particular. That's just, and it's like, but people seem to think that that lets them off the hook. Oh, well, this happened to me, or yeah, when I was little, this happened, and what that is one, it's a way to control things, but two, it's a way to not live in the present.
Mm.
It's like, so the question is, are you 6 anymore? No, I'm 44. Are you a little person anymore? No, I'm a grown person. Are these horses here the same horses that you got bit by? No, they're not. It's like, are we going to allow ourselves to live in the present and to say what we need to say when we need to say it? Yeah. Because I could even go, last time I tried improv, it wasn't so great for me, which that's not the case. Anytime I've done some improv stuff with you guys, it's always been fun.
So fun to watch you laugh. Oh my God.
So, but yeah, the last time I did, I sort of got stuck. And I can go, okay, well, I'll never do that again. Or I can go, oh, I can get myself curious about how did I get stuck? And in fact, let me give an example of this because I've actually thought about this. This is like really friggin' fun. And I'm going to call myself out here. Santa Barbara, February. We were sharing stories. And one of the really cool things is that Kimberly and, gosh, I'm like spacing the name.
Alan.
Alan. When you're sharing a story, it would be like we would put together a story and then Kimberly and Alan would say, do it from a perspective of a taxi driver, or do it from a perspective of a cheerleader. Well, mine was one of my directives was do it from the perspective of a gymnast. I don't know if you remember that or not.
I do.
And I got stuck. It was like I could not figure out how to do my story from the perspective of a gymnast. And what's interesting is later it hit me. It was like kaboom! I could have done that. But I could take that experience and go, wow, I really blew the improv, so therefore I can't do it. Or I could take that experience and go, that was a learning experience for me. What can I learn from this? To help myself speak up, drop into who I am, and say what I need to say when I need and want to say it.
I'm going to respond in one of the tools that we have that helps, that may help, is it's called choose to know.
Mhm,
So Dewey Freeman may not have known how to do the 1 minute story as if Dewey Freeman was a gymnast. So you go, if you choose to know, my character in this minute right now chooses to know exactly how a
mhm,
gymnast would do this, because there is no wrong in improv. Whatever you do is true. However you interpreted that was true. So a gymnast may be someone who's just really confident. Didn't mean you have to be gymnastic. It's what is the a gymnast is confident and assured, and I'll just think about what else is true about that person who's a gymnast, who
mhm,
would just boldly, man, just full of the body, really in their body. I don't know what a gymnast does. Doesn't matter. Choose to know. Our story on that was we walked into improv years ago, and there's a circle of us in doing we're going to do our warm-ups, and the teacher walks in and slides a boom box into the middle of the circle. He says, okay, dance party. I was like, oh man, I don't dance.
You do now.
Well, the guy next to me pulled me out of the circle and he goes, Mark Sylvester doesn't dance, but his character does.
Mm,
And oh, okay. So I gave myself permission. I don't dance, but this guy, right, I'm playing a character right now
mhm,
who loves to dance. Oh, I'm the dance machine. And a lot of times when we're stuck and we don't know, and this is just in life, and you don't know how to react, how to respond, what should I say, what's the right thing? Yeah, all that stuff's going in your head in just a second. Think of someone who is clever, or someone's a really good speaker, or someone who's very self-confident. Think of who that person is. How would they do
mhm, mhm,
that? And for just a split second you could say, oh, I'll, how would Anderson Cooper answer that question? Like he would just, well, he'd read off the teleprompter, but even if that was the case,
Someone had to write it.
someone had to write it, and they're on strike right now. But it's those, what I love about being an elder, not an older, is that I have a very, very full toolkit of things like that. Choose to know, be a character, be all of those kinds of
Mm,
things. So I can choose to be the person. Can I be the person who doesn't know? No, right now, the person that's working with me, I'm the voice of authority for them. And if
mhm,
I don't know it, how can I choose to know and still be honest and all that stuff? I'm not saying to not be, but it's a great little tool. Like, how would a really confident dad be right now? How would a really confident boss, who's a really good boss you have in your mind? Okay, be that guy.
got it. So part of what you're saying is when we don't, when we're struggling to speak up, we could actually allow ourselves to go. oh, I know this person that speaks up really, really well. How can I do this that way?
What would they do? What would they say?
What they
Because
do.
I think that's enough to get you. It's the take the first step and then take seconds. It's enough to get you unstuck, right? It's enough to get you unstuck and you go, "Oh," and then the you will come through.
Hmm.
Ooh, there's a button sticker for you.
Yeah,
The you will come through. I'm writing that one down. I'm actually going to have t-shirts on sale later today.
it sounds perfect.
So after I said all that, you got quiet and I love watching you process as you look up and to the right, and that's where you go to think. Um,
Well, what I'm actually when I went there, it was like I do believe that in the idea of going, oh, I know this person that speaks up really well and does it beautifully. That person is us. We all know how to do this. And it is tying into what you're talking about is and that's actually what happened to me on stage. It was like, oh, at that moment I couldn't tap into that part of me. And my story was really heavy duty.
yeah.
And what I was actually, interestingly enough, being asked to do was to come in a lighter way to my story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other piece I was thinking about it's like even in speaking up, even if it's heavy duty, can we find sometimes a lighter way to come in?
But by
And
the way, the answer is yes.
the answer, yeah. So I actually want to share this. This is, and this happened the night, either that night or the next morning, where I'd like to give a context because this will maybe be a fun thing. Is my story is about my birth and my mother finding out that she had tuberculosis when she was pregnant with me. A very heavy duty story. It was actually wonderful for me to work with that and process it. But when I was asked, how would a gymnast do this? I got myself stuck. And it was because I allowed myself to stay stuck in the heaviness instead of being able to come in a different way. And actually, that's one of the things I do at times is I deal with heavy duty stuff and I allow myself to get stuck in the heaviness. So here's how I would have had I been able to go there, which I
Upon
wasn't
upon reflection,
upon
take
reflection.
two.
Take
Dewey
two would
as
have been,
gymnast.
yeah. Hey, lady, I'm inside here. I'm doing fucking backflips. I'm standing. Do you see this handstand I'm doing? Come on, mom. Come on. This is going to be okay. Come on. Just get me out of here alive.
See,
And that, interestingly enough, when I've messed with that, that's actually what really was happening
yeah.
for me as a fetus inside her. It's like, let me get out of here alive. I'm going to
With your permission, I'm going to see Alan tonight. It's our short form show at Santa Barbara Improv, and with your permission, I'm going to tell him exactly what you just said.
I would love that.
He'll get a kick out of that.
And please feel free to share that with Kimberly too,
I will do that. I will
because
do that.
like maybe the message is that there's thousands of ways to speak up.
Yeah. Yeah. I was, uh, I was lucky enough to learn a sentence about 20 years ago that is it's one of the tools. This one sentence is a tool that's in that toolbox that I will pull out on occasion. The sentence is, all I need is within me now.
Beautiful. And allow ourselves to find
I think that's a great place to end, my friend. I
that.
sure love talking to you.
This is so much fun, and my hope and my wish is that those of you who listen to this and see this get as half as much out of this as I get out of this every day, every Saturday.
I love you, my friend.
Love you. Thank you.